How many of you are skiers? Some, not all, not all. I love to ski. Love to ski. It started when I was very small. And this October, I went to Snowmass for a clergy conference. And one day, we went into Aspen to play golf because that's where the golf course was. And we're driving around Aspen a little bit looking for a place to eat. And you can have the Aspen Mountain, the ski hill is right above town. And I looked up at my friends, I pointed up and I see that up there? That was the greatest highlight of my high school years, happened right up there. It was 1978, April 2nd. My father brought us out here, me and one of my cousins, and we came out and we skied 6 days in a row at Aspen. And I'd skied all winter long, so I was in great shape. It was my senior year, and I had long, flowing, beautiful hair. Just imagine that for a moment. And I was skiing, and I got into it after a couple days, and I came down, and there was a mogul field that came down under the chairlift. And it was a pretty steep drop off the front. You just had to kind of hit it, because there was no going into it slow. And I popped over the top, and I went down in, and I just was flying through, hitting the moguls. Just the line was perfect. My shoulders, my hands were up. My knees were coming up to my chin. I hit one, actually did a little daffy in the air. I'm listening. I'm hearing people on the chairlift shouting, "Yeah, go, man, go." I was like, it was out-of-body experience. Y'all have experienced that, right? Well, if you haven't done that, maybe there's a way to visualize it. I mean, I'm good with words, but I've got a video that kind of shows what it might have looked like.
Now let's put the whole package together. Upper body. My poles are planting on the back side of the moguls. My shoulders are always squared up down the hill. My hands are always driving down the hill in front of my shoulders. Extension and absorption. I am always setting myself up in an aligned position when I'm extending on the downhill side of the moguls. This enables me to bend my knees and release the tension in my legs when I impact the uphill sides of the moguls.
That's what it looked like. It was amazing. It was, like I say, it was the highlight of my entire high school career. The heck with anything else. It was that skiing. Sometimes we need help sharing stories, you know. If you've never skied, I can tell you all about counter rotation, pole plant, shoulder square. It's not going to mean anything to you unless you get to see someone doing it. And I was trying to figure out, how do you explain this? What did I do? I went to YouTube. And you put in skiing moguls, and 200 various clips come up. I did not use the one with girl in bikini. Just figured this one was better. This guy skied better than she. Especially when it comes to unprecedented, amazing stuff. It's hard to explain sometimes. It's hard to use the right words, the right language. And you need help. Think about this. After Good Friday, now the disciples, their leader gets nailed to a cross, a criminal's death, thrown down into a stone tomb. And then he comes out of the tomb and he greets them. And what do they do? What do the disciples do? They hide. They go into hiding. Because what did they just see? Their leader killed on a cross. I don't want to go do that. It looks painful. Jesus, however, the resurrected Christ, pursues them. He goes down the road with them. He goes behind locked doors with them. He goes where they are. He sits down and fixes them breakfast. And he tells them, I want you to go out and tell the world what you've seen. And so what do the disciples do? They hide. They still don't know. They're terrified. They're hiding. They don't want to go like this. They don't know how to tell people. This amazing, unprecedented thing has happened. This relationship with God is opened up for all humanity, and they don't know how to tell. So they hide. They hide. 50 days after Passover is the Feast of Pentecost. It's a celebration of harvest. It's a big party day. Pentecost find the 12 disciples where? Come on, you know this by now. They're hiding. They're in a house behind locked doors, curtains drawn. They're not out celebrating. They're hiding. And what happens? From the book of Acts comes the story. When the day of Pentecost had come, they were all together in one place. And suddenly from heaven there came a sound of a rush of violent wind. It filled the entire house where they were sitting. And divided tongues as of fire came and appeared above their heads. And all of them were filled with the Holy Spirit and began to speak in other languages as the Spirit gave them ability. Now there were devout Jews from every nation under heaven living in Jerusalem. And at this sound, the sound of the wind, the crowd came rushing to see what was going on. And they were bewildered because each one heard them speaking in the native language of each. Amazed and astonished, they asked, "Are not these who are speaking Galileans? And how is it then that we hear each of us in our own native language? We hear them speaking about God's deeds of power." And all were amazed and perplexed, saying to one another, "What does this mean? What does this mean?" The people are amazed. Not the fact that they can hear them in their own language, but at the message of power that they heard. They hear God's message of power, and they're amazed at that. They hear it in their language, spoken to them, so they can understand it. And later it says, in that day, 3,000 people came and joined. April and Brian were talking to me about church. They were in California. And how many people are there? 3,000. Yeah. That would be kind of fun to have 3,000 people in here. Be a little crowded. We could do it. They don't have to learn Aramaic. They don't have to learn Greek. They hear it in their own language. The message of life and hope. It's a way to draw people in. Think about this. Think about how communication has changed in just the last 200 years. 200 years ago, the fastest information traveled was by horse. That was it. You had the printed word, and that was a huge advancement. But still, if you wanted to get information from one place to another, you sent it on horseback, or you put it on a boat, and it sailed across the ocean for months. And then came the telegraph, and then came telephone, and then came radio, and then the bane of our existence, television. And from television, we get internet, and now we travel at the speed of light. I'm in Ireland, and if I wasn't so cheap, I could have bought international internet service for my phone. But instead, I borrowed somebody else's and used theirs, and I could nag Amy about things that needed to be done from Ireland instantaneously. That's amazing. That's amazing. Just a generation ago, it would have been so difficult to make a call. 20-some years ago when I was in London after being in Africa where I couldn't talk to anyone for 3 weeks. I got to London and it took me 15 minutes to figure out how to make an international phone call in a phone booth where I kept throwing these crazy English coins in. Social media. How has that changed communication? Think about it. How many of you are on Facebook now? Pretty good number, more than in the early service.
Like right now?
Yeah. Checking it out. Really boring sermon. How many social media, the arrangement, you saw the thing that Todd had up for us, the stuff that's out there. The amazing array of communication that goes on. At its very best, it allows us to reach thousands of people. Thousands of people. And yet, you have to learn a new language in order to be able to use this media. You have to learn a new language, a new way of speaking. Facebook me. You said that lately? No, because you don't have Facebook. But I have. Just last week, I said, look, Facebook. Somebody was asking about our church and what we're doing. And I said, Facebook me. And then you can link to the videos and you can see the things that the church is doing. Or I get together with college students on Sunday night after everything else I do. There's a group of college students I get together with, and we have a good time, and we get together and we sit and we argue about things. And now, if you want to find out who has the most shutouts in NHL Stanley Cup final games, you can ask me because I know it's Patrick Waugh, or you can say, Google it. It's a whole new language. It's a word my mother never would have thought of. Google it, and you can look up and see. Jim's going to check right now and see if I'm right. Fact-checking the sermon, bad. At least wait until I'm done. You Google it, you find out, you solve the questions, you get it, all the answers are there. Or Groupon, you've heard this, yes? Some? Groupon? It's a combination of two words, group and coupon. And you Groupon, and they offer these tremendous deals on restaurants or stores or services, and you just go and you buy them, and they're only there for a short time. And then if they offer a Groupon to your favorite restaurant, then you want to go and have dinner, you can't get in. Because all these other people who bought the Groupon thing have come in. And Groupon just held its internet, or its new Wall Street offering, IPO. Thank you. And they got, what, $700 million, something ridiculous like that, offering this thing? They don't make anything. They sell these coupons as a service. Wow. But Groupon, it's a whole new way for people to come together. We should have a church Groupon, free offering. Bread included. And one drink. It's a way to draw people in, a way to connect people, a way to talk to people in a language they can hear. In the internet age, people are anonymous behind their screens, and we can reach them. People are opposed to the church because of what they hear about the church, and we can reach them. People are hurt by the church, and we can say, look, we're not so scary. We're not so scary. People are frightened of the church, and maybe they have a right to be. I say this all the time. The bravest thing some people will do is walk back into a church after years away or never having experienced it. The internet, the Facebook, the rest of it is all ways for us to offer people baby steps, safe ways to reconnect with the message of life and hope that we offer. Our church has 3 Facebook pages. We have a church page, we have a youth page, and then we have the gathering, the young adult page. And we keep in touch with those people. We have about 150 people who follow us between the different pages. And we get them information about what we're doing, how things work. There's a transformative power in speaking to people in their own language. We started putting videos up on the internet, and the website is lumcvideo.com. And they're sermon videos and they're music videos, and it's just some of the best stuff that we do here. And it's a way for people to see what we're doing. And on Facebook, I posted on my site a link to one of my favorite sermons, the Beatles sermon that I did. And one of my friends who I'd gone to high school with, and he and I had been troublemakers and involved in a lot of shady business, he saw that, and he looked at it, and he went, wow, knowing what you had been like in high school, Paul, and then seeing what you're like now, and hearing that sermon, I thought maybe I could go back to church. Maybe it wouldn't be so bad. And I told him about a guy I know in Western New York who's doing good things in church, and he went, and he's reconnected with church. So a sermon in Lakewood, broadcast on the internet, touches a guy in Amherst who goes back to church. That's the transformative power of linking people, of connecting people, of speaking in their language. Paul, in his letter to Corinthians, he writes, "For though I am free with respect to all, I have made myself a slave to all so that I might win more of them. To the Jews I became as a Jew in order to win Jews. To those under the law I became as one under the law, that I might win those under the law. To those outside the law I became as one outside the law, so that I might win those outside the law. To the weak I became weak. I have become all things to all people, that I might by all means save some. I do it for the sake of the gospel. For the sake of the gospel. The message of life and hope. A message of connection to God. A message of forgiveness and life. We have to learn the language of the people who need to hear it. We need to be able to transform how we do things. What are your tools? I know that some of us could probably preach, but not most. Some of us could teach. What are your gifts? What are your passions? That's why we started putting together these life groups that allow you to do something you're passionate about in the context of the church, so that you have a way of sharing and connecting with people and making meaningful connections, of speaking someone else's language, of opening the door, of taking the opportunity, of transforming lives. We have got to share these things. As our community here begins to grow and thrive, you have got to share these things. You have got to take the time and link to someone. Go link the video. Go look. Yeah, I know he's old and bald, but he's not that bad. You know, he's not that scary. He has not thrown a Bible at anyone in a year and a half. Give it a shot. Take the baby step. Be open to it. You need to be talking to people about what this is. All right, how many of you brought cell phones? Okay, this is your chance. Get it out. You can use this. You can use this. I want you to text a message. Look through your contact list. Find somebody you haven't contacted in a while. Friend, family, somebody you haven't sent just, a month, 2 months, somebody, send a message to me. It's thinking of you, looking forward to reconnecting with you. Who's the fastest texter in the room? I'm going with Coral. All right, now in a few minutes we'll get text messages back that are going, what is wrong with you? Everybody's going, what? And you know what? When you get that message back asking you what's going on, you send them one that says, thinking of you. I'm in church tonight, and I'm thinking of you, and I like to share what I have. And you want to put the link, you can do that. lumcvideo.com. You can do that. We have to learn a language. If we believe in what this community is and what it can be, if we believe in the message of grace and hope and life that we have received, then you got to share it. Yes, I am an awesome dude. Will you pray with me, please? Gracious God, we've received a tremendous text. Oh, you gotta check this. Glad somebody's enjoying the sermon. Gracious God, and I'm not answering the next text, God. We have received a blessing of life and forgiveness and hope. This is a message we cannot keep to ourselves. Gracious God, help us use the languages you give us. Help us use the gift of the Spirit to be your people in the world, to reach out to those who might need to hear that message of forgiveness and hope and life. Gracious God, help us to find a way to speak your word to a world in need. In Jesus' name, amen.